3 weeks. That's all the time my own sister gave me before tossing me out of her $1 million Denver home. Within days, I went from helping raise her kid, cooking her meals, and paying rent, straight to sleeping in my car during freezing February nights. But here's the thing about betrayal. Sometimes it plants the exact seeds that grow into the sweetest kind of revenge. And a year later, those same people who left me homeless, they were the ones calling me for help. And oh, I had a response waiting for them. If you've ever known the gut punch of betrayal, this story is going to hit you right in the chest and then leave you smiling when justice lands. Smash that subscribe button, hit like, and drop a comment with your own story of poetic revenge. Because today, we're diving into the tale of how I turned rock bottom into the ultimate comeback. When Rebecca first offered me her spare bedroom, I cried. Legitimate tears of relief. I'd just come out of grad school, 5 grueling years plus a master's in design. I had a mountain of loans and a career I was desperate to launch. Denver rents were brutal, with landlords competing to see just how much financial blood they could squeeze out of a poor young professional. Rebecca leaned across the table that night, her hand covering mine, nails immaculate as always. What kind of sister would I be if I didn't help you get back on your feet? That sentence locked itself inside me like an anchor of gratitude. I thought, finally, family, safety, a net. But hindsight, that wasn't kindness. That was business. And business, unlike family, has an expiration date. For 5 months, I pour myself into their household. I didn't just pay them slightly under market rent, a deal so small, it barely deserved the label favor. I cleaned their house, cooked their dinners, babysat their son, scrubbed their sparkly bathrooms. And I did it with love, because I thought this was mutual support. Family. It turns out what they saw was a line of credit and free labor wrapped up in loyalty and naivete. The betrayal emerged casually, almost slipshod. I wasn't meant to hear it. Rebecca and her husband, Daniel, thought I was still gone when I walked into their white and gold kitchen. Their fruit bowl gleamed like a showroom display, and their words cut deeper than any blade could. "We don't need her rent anymore," Rebecca was saying. "The business deal came through. With the pregnancy, we can use that as the excuse. The perfect reason to evict me, to discard me like some folding table they bought from IKEA during a temporary need." I felt my stomach go hollow, as if gravity had yanked the inside from me, but left my body standing there among the overpriced countertops. There was no family loyalty, just a transaction. What followed was surreal. Within days, Rebecca adopted the posture of a queen in her castle, looking down at me like some unwanted court jester. Suddenly, I was overly friendly with Daniel, bringing strangers into their house, a wild accusation. They knew I lived like a monk while saving money. Her face carried the smug gravity of someone doing the right thing by booting me. 3 weeks. That's what they gave me. Less than a month to uproot my life during the busiest contract of my career. Rent-free, she called it. The audacity almost made me laugh. I had bank statements proving every cent went straight into her account. When I showed her proof, she looked at me with flat eyes. Family comes first, meaning hers, never me. I deserve an Oscar for the calm nod I gave before walking upstairs, portfolio clutched to my chest. Because inside, I was collapsing. Where do you go in Denver within 3 weeks? When every single listing has a 12-month wait and requires first, last, and security up front? How do you sleep when family has painted you as a liability in front of cousins and aunts, convincing them you're selfish? The answer: you sleep in your car, or shiver through cheap motels, each night draining the last of your savings. But here's the twist. Rock bottom is fertile soil. Those nights with no heat, when my hands shook on my sketch pad, I learned something crystal clear. I could never again let them, or anyone, control my foundation. If I was going to survive, it had to be on my own terms. My lifeline came in the form of Ellen, a new hire at my design firm, the kind of coworker you barely expect small talk from. She looked at me one morning, coffee in hand, and said, "You look like hell." I froze, swallowing excuses. Insomnia, stress, anything but the truth. "I'm technically homeless right now." She didn't accept my deflection. She dropped a single lifeline instead. "My apartment has a couch. It's yours as long as you need it." I stammered an offer to pay rent. She shut me down with words that burrowed straight into my chest. I was homeless once, too. This is how we break the cycle. It wasn't Rebecca. It wasn't Daniel. It wasn't blood relatives calling, asking if I was okay. It was Ellen, 2 months into knowing me, showing more family than my own sister ever had. Remember this. Family isn't always blood. Sometimes it's the people who just show up. The irony was exquisite. Rebecca's baby shower, the event where my eviction was cloaked in pastel balloons and cupcakes. She raised a glass, publicly thanking me for understanding our need for space and moving out graciously. Honestly, 20 faces turned toward me, expecting me to nod, smile, and endorse the narrative her manipulative hands had crafted. The false script. I chose to leave. Instead, I looked at them and said, I don't actually have a new place yet. It's been difficult. The housing market, you know. Silence. Electric, suffocating silence. The kind of silence where forks hang frozen in midair. Rebecca flushed crimson, her twinned facade of pregnancy innocence and sisterly virtue cracking in front of our entire family. For once, the truth stood in the room, undeniable. Ellen linked me with her landlord, an elderly woman with kind eyes and tiny shoebox apartments on the edge of the city. By ordinary measures, it was cramped. By my measures, it was salvation. My keys, my space, my window facing east, flooding my art with sunrise light. Night by night, box by box, I rebuilt a home. Friends carried in mismatched dishes, donated futons, gifted their laughter. Each framed picture on my walls didn't feature Rebecca or Daniel. They featured the people who earned their place in my life. I kept a record. Every lie Rebecca told, every fabricated accusation. It grew into a thick file, a weapon built not of rage, but of accuracy. Facts. Truth waiting for its vindication. The phone rang. Rebecca's name popped up like a ghost of old trauma. Against my better instincts, I answered. Her voice lacked the steel I once knew. The business collapsed. We lost the house. We're in a motel. The kids, two now, are suffering. Now the tables were flipped. She asked, essentially, to live with me. Blood is thicker than water, Allie. But here's the catch. When they discarded me, I was innocent too. When they stacked lies atop lies to justify my exile, I had been a child of their cruelty. So no, Rebecca. No easy refuge here. Do manipulators ever work alone? Of course not. Soon enough, my phone buzzed with my mother and father staging their interventions. Emotional blackmail disguised as persuasion. Phrases like, she's your sister. The tension at holidays will be unbearable if you don't help. I handed them each a document. Housing programs, shelters, Section 8, children's assistance, all highlighted, organized. I spent nights in my car while Rebecca lived in her 4-bedroom house with heated floors. I rebuilt my life without support. They can too with the resources I've provided. My father paled. My mother's hands trembled on the paper. For once, they understood. Weeks later, at our parents' table, Rebecca positioned herself as the victim yet again. Allison won't even let family stay with her. After everything we did for her, I stood. Calmly, I placed folders before every person. Page 2 documented rent payments. Page 3 detailed the false allegations. Page 7 onward, witness statements, proof, evidence. Rebecca sputtered. This is ridiculous. Daniel's voice cut across hers quietly. It's all true. Silence soaked the table. For the first time, the gaslight burned out, truth reclaiming the room. And in that moment, my revenge crystallized, not through cruelty, not through screaming, but through truth. Cold, undeniable, irrefutable, a permanent rewriting of the family narrative. Now, I sit in a condo I own outright. Hardwood floors glisten underfoot. My name, etched in a brass plate, Allison Hartwell Designs. Clients line up. Ellen remains my anchor, my chosen family. Rebecca lives in government-assisted housing, still spinning her stories. But they no longer touch me. At my housewarming, surrounded by laughter, Ellen raised her glass. You've built more than walls. You've built a life that honors who you are. Blood didn't protect you. Loyalty did. Cheers erupted. And that right there, that's the real revenge. Not that my sister lost everything, but that I gained everything she tried to take from me. Peace, independence, truth, and a home of my own. Betrayal by family cuts deepest, but it also teaches the sharpest lessons. I learned blood doesn't guarantee loyalty. Actions do. And sometimes the sweetest revenge isn't watching your enemies fall. It's standing tall in the life they try to take from you. Because in the end, vindication looks a lot like freedom. If this story hit home for you, smash that like button. Subscribe for more tales of poetic justice. And in the comments, tell me, what's the most satisfying revenge you've ever seen play out in real life? Because one thing's for sure, revenge is even sweeter when shared.